Hey guys, back with another video. It's been a while since I made these. I have a hard time with YouTube. I guess I just don't feel like anybody watches these or they're any good. I just see so many videos that have such great production value, and I'm a one-man band working a full-time job and responsibilities, and I don't know, I feel like my videos suck. But anyway, thanks for tuning in. What I want to talk about today is something I've been thinking about a while as I watch time pass. And I'm an old guy, right? So I've seen a lot of cars come and go. I've seen a lot of cars morph and change and all those type of things. And when I was a kid, when I was, 10, 11, 12, early 90s, I'm old. I remember seeing 500Es and 124s and all these old Mercedes driving around, and they always had, a panache to them. Mercedes to me always felt just different than every other German car. I see a lot of BMWs. BMW is very popular, and for good reason. When I speak of BMW, I'm speaking of 2005 and older BMWs. I'm not a new BMW fan supporter. I would advocate that you never buy one. I work at an independent, and what pays for this garage, this house, and this car are fixing BMWs. So I would not recommend them. I would buy an E92 M3, and I probably would be dumb enough to buy an E60 M5 6-speed, just because that's tying in with what I'm about to talk about. And we're getting into an era now where, good old-fashioned combustion engine cars feels like they're being forcibly phased out, and we're being fed this baloney that, these super fast inline electric cars are the answer, and they're cleaner for the environment, and they're better. But the reality is, you got to burn coal to make electricity, and the world don't run on hydro because that'd be too efficient. Hydropower, and sure, are they fast? Yes, because of how how electric motors work, but they're so heavy. You're going through tires and brakes and suspension like crazy on those cars because they're all 5,000 pounds. But trying to get back on topic, I feel like as we look through the generations of cars, right, you had, E30s and 190s fought together, great battles. You had the 202 and the 209 chassis cars, C classes and CLK classes dominate touring car. They never raced the W211, which is a bummer, but whatever. The C class and the 209 CLKs were very good race cars. But as you see time go on, and BMW has their equivalent with the E36, the E39, I feel like in 2023, when you start realizing those cars are all 35 and some are 40 years old. I'm 40 years old, and I'm a 1983 model. Stuff that doesn't feel old to some of us that are older, unfortunately, is getting to be really old. When someone tells me that they have a 35-year-old car, I feel like they're driving something from the late 60s. That's how my mind works, right? Because in the 90s, 35 years ago, was the 60s. And now here we are, where a 35-year-old car is an early 90s, whatever. And the title of the video is, and again, if you've watched other videos, you've seen me on Instagram or whatever, I'm a Mercedes homer, I'm an E-Class homer. I feel like everything is moving up a notch, right? As older chassis start to get forgotten, sadly. In Europe, those boys are still messing around with 124s because they had more versions of them than we did. But over here, I know 3 guys that have 124 chassis cars that run and drive and that they've taken care of. One has a 500E, and that's an awesome $80,000 car now. But what I'm getting at is, and you guys can chime in on this, has the W211 become the 124? In other words, have we gone so far in time that now the 124 has dropped off the list, to put it, so to speak, and now the 211 is in that spot because now we've got whatever's after 213 chassis E classes, and we got the new just abomination of a C class that's probably a W206 if they follow the same naming structure. Mercedes is lost, right? They're making electric jelly beans and 4-cylinder turbo abominations that is going over like a poopy-filled balloon. So now we're looking back at, late model stuff. And, I was driving home the other day in this car, and I adore this car. Later in the video, I'll give you some updates on it. Spoiler, it's been epic. But I was driving home, and I was like, you know what? Are we at that time in history, and I think it's accelerated by the electric car fiasco, are we in this portion of time, boys, where is the 211 the 124? Like, is that where we're at? Is the E55 the 500E? I feel like it's kind of feels like that. The 500E was something very, very special. From the second it was concept, executed, and done, that car blew people away. I remember being young, and those cars weren't that old, and just the panache that if you had a 500E or an E500 in 93 or 4, whenever they switched the nomenclature, that was something, man, because that car was brutally fast. If you look up what a 500E did with its 330 horse, with what was around in that time, it looks a lot like what this car did in 2003 when it came out, and it was chasing Vipers down drag strips and waving bye-bye to 911 turbos and Z06s. I mean, we all know. If you're here, you obviously know this car's status as a modern legend. And I feel like the E55 is now the 500E. And the W211 is going to become the 124. Not in the same sense of the popularity of the 124, more so in Europe. And if you're watching this over there, you understand that. But the 211, as far as how many of them sold, the 211 was a very successful chassis for Mercedes. And in fact, you still see them driving around today because that's what's under every Hellcat and every Charger. They're built on modified 211 chassis. So that thing's still pumping out today. I don't know. Do you guys agree? Do you think that the 211 now is old enough? This car is 18 years old. That it is now the 500E of E-classes? As much of a W211 nerd as I am, I think most Mercedes guys, if we're being honest with ourselves, will agree that the 124 chassis is still the king of the E-classes. It's probably the best looking overall in European spec, not in our sunken eye US baloney spec. But it just is. The 124 was really something special. I think the W210 chassis is something that's very special. I just think, and like I've said in older videos and I've said in comments on different places, MB World and whatever, the W210 E55 was a monster. Like, you got to remember, it was pretty much as fast as an E39 M5. What separated those two cars was the ability to do this, what the 210 couldn't do. But in a straight line, a 210 was going to give everything it could to an E39, in a straight line. And it was the last of the, if you want to say it, the real, AMGs that were still post-merger, but it was the last of that era. You know what I mean? This was a new era. But the problem with the 210, and it's not the problem with the 210, it's unfortunate for the 210 that when they decided to up the ante, when the rumors of BMW upping the ante on the E39 came out, that they made this Joker, which was a ridiculous car for its day. It just overshadowed the W210 by so much that the 210 just kind of gets a raw deal. But it's a very special car. I love a 210 chassis. Probably the most reliable E55 you're ever going to get. Steel suspension, this engine without a blower on it. But unfortunately, it just kind of suffers, kind of the same extent that 211 E63s suffer from. Like, and I'm coming around on M156s as I start to just despise electric stuff so much. I would rather have an M156 powered anything than any Tesla. I'll deal with the head bolts and the cam wear and phasers and all the other stuff happily over driving some golf cart. But it just didn't have the same punch that this car had when it came out. And the E60 M5 had it was a V10, right? And a sedan, 9,000 RPM. I mean, it had all these wows that just weren't done before. And it's the last era of BMW, I feel like, actually trying. They put an F1 motor in an M5. Like, its naggles and problems aside, that's really, and as BMW devolves into whatever the heck BMW is nowadays. You gotta respect them for that. That was a move. It was a move similar to this. People said, "You're doing what in a what?" And it's a legend. The E65 is a legend. It's just a broken legend. But yeah, what do you guys think? Is the 211 now what the 124 used to be? I don't know that an E55 will ever be as quote unquote special as a 500E is. I don't think you're ever going to see E55s, you know, with 127,000 miles on them cracking 45 and 50 grand. I mean, who knows? I mean, a lot of stuff is a lot more money than you think it would be based on a large number of us enthusiasts not wanting to buy electric crap. So a lot of stuff's resale value is coming up because people would rather spend their hard-earned money on that. And if you got money to buy a $100,000 Plaid, you can shell out 35 or 40 for a properly dialed late model whatever. And that's creating a market. I talked about this probably 2 years ago. So I mean, maybe someday these cars will be worth the same kind of equivalent of what a 500E is. Personally, I don't ever think that will happen. The 500E has too much pedigree, and if you don't know what a 500E is and you're watching this, you need to stop watching this video. I don't make any money off this anyway. Stop watching this, get off, type in 124 500E in YouTube and get educated on why that car is very, very special. I mean, you know how much of a dork I am about these things, but it's another level. I would love to have one day. I never will, because I will never be able to afford that. But anyway, so yeah, that's the kind of the point. Is the 211 the 124 now? I don't know. Next chunk of this little video, updates on Whitey here. It will be a year next month that I've had it, and it has been a very good way to soothe the pain of losing the other one. It has been immaculate. After about 6 months with the car, at least for me, you get that, you know, avatar, your tails mash bond, and you trust it. You kind of know how its quirks are and what it does. It's hasn't given any fits. This thing has not given me an iota of trouble. And so this last, you know, these 6 months since I've just kind of gotten to know it and trust it, and it's proven to be a good car, this has been the fun time with it. Got new wheels. They are raised Graham Lights 57 DR. This is the first set of these on a W211, which is kind of cool. I worked with a nice dude at Fitment Industries on this. It's not like it's that cool. It's cool to me, whatever. I had Hondas, and I have a deep passion for Japanese stuff. I think the Japanese do everything just better than everybody else does, including German cars, raw welt. I mean, I think that goes without saying. And I wanted to go, especially since this car's alabaster, and to me, white has always been a very JDM thing. I don't know if it's because of championship white on Type Rs or whatever, but a white E55 on some gun blue 2 rays, it just kind of had to be done. And I think it looks killer myself. I've gotten a lot of compliments on it. Only thing that's happened to me, I lost the intercooler pump on it. The Bosch pump that was in it died, and I had some sky-high intake temps that I think now, looking back, the pump was probably bad when I bought it. But I didn't beat on it too much when I got it, you know what I mean? Because I didn't know how she was going to be. And it was already faster, heat-soaked, and a pulley than my last one was. So I didn't really realize it until I started driving it more and more and more, especially this summer when it's been warm up here, and I'm seeing 150, 160, 170 degree intake temps. And they would only, they would only go down to 120 or so cruising on the freeway, and I was like, that can't be right. So we ended up putting a pump in it at work, and now I am 5 to 10 degrees over ambient, whatever the temperature is. If it's 90, I'm 95. And yeah, it actually has 650 horsepower now. It is a large difference in performance. It's kind of like getting another car, because I thought it was quick before, and I thought it made a lot of power before, and I didn't realize what I honestly, probably down 100 horse. This car is savage now with a functioning intercooler pump. Other than that, it's been perfect. I think between the last update video, I don't know if, no, I didn't, because I haven't made a video in forever. I had this car, because I don't have the skill for it, so I farmed it out to a buddy of mine, and so this car was paint corrected, cut, buffed, ceramic coated, up to the spec of my last one was. There is not a scratch on this paint. It is literally a mirror. It's almost so that I can't get any sticker to stick to it. Like my Modern Legend decals, they just peel off this joker. So, whatever. In fact, I'm about to wash it. I was going to wash it, and I was like, you know what, dude, let me make a little video, because somebody somewhere is bored and will watch this. But no, it's been fantastic. It's absolutely rolls, and I love it. So, that's it, guys. Let me know in the comments. Let me know what you think. Is the 211 becoming the 124? Or have I just totally lost it, and I'm just getting kind of boomery, and just like my old 18-year-old Mercedes? I hope everyone's doing good. Couple of the guys in the comments, I saw that you got E55s in between watching some videos. Congratulations, that's awesome. That's going to be the best purchase you're going to do. Hang on to it. Do not sell it. Trust me. A buddy of mine just sold one, and crushing regret. AMG Meister, he's pretty sad too of selling the black car, even with having a cool collection out of two. There's something to them, man. If they get under your skin and you know what they can do, or you can see what they can do, or you just like the way they look, get it and keep it, man, because they are getting so hard to find. Oh, brings me to my next point. Yes, it is true, honest to God. I will not provide the gentleman's name because I don't think that's fair to him. I have been offered $37.5 thousand for this car from a customer of mine at work. Super duper loaded. I park right outside. I kind of get stunner parking at work. It's pros working at a German independent. So people see it all day, and it's a good ego scratch. People are like, "Whose Mercedes is that?" And I'm like, "Oh, it's mine." Yeah, but he came in and was like, "I want it. Whose car is that? Is it for sale?" I'm like, "It's mine." I'm like, I don't know if I would sell it. He's like, "What would you sell it for?" I was like, "It'd probably have to be a number north of 30. It's 80,000 miles, immaculate, and has every single part that's ever come off it is here, plus another pulley." Actually, that's going to my brother-in-law, Caleb. But anyway, and he hit back with 37.5. I told him no instantaneously. The real reason I didn't want to sell the car to him is because he destroys everything he has. He's comes from money, has money. Money does not mean the same thing to him that it does to me, and this is a Xbox to him. Like, he's gonna buy it, beat the piss out of it, break it, and then when he doesn't feel like fixing it, it's gonna rot in his house, or he'll sell it to somebody cheap. And I can't do it, man. You can call me crazy all you want. Could I use $37,000? Yeah, I mean, everybody could use it. Am I gonna sell it and then try to find another car that is as well sorted as this one is, or as well sorted as my last one is? I don't think I'm getting that lucky 3 times in a row. I look at E55s every day just because I like to keep my finger on the market, and there are some buckets of crap out there that are going for $15,000, $16,000, $17,000 that need probably $5,000 worth of work. Valve cover gaskets, and what I consider work would be paint correction and windshields and things that make a car. I'm a weirdo, man. My stuff is dialed. This is how I am. I like my car to be. So what my fly to you, I would probably throw my nose up at. He came back a couple days later and said 40. I still said no. The only thing I could get rid of this car for would have to be a sorted wagon of its equivalent. And honestly, the wagons are hard to find, and the guys that have them are smart and usually won't sell them, and if they do, they want 45 to 50 plus, as they should ask for those cars. I mean, they made 64 of them, I believe, or something like that, or 93 of them, under a very little amount compared to the 5,000-6,000 I've made of these. So no, it's not worth it to me. I put that up on Instagram. If any of you follow me on Instagram, Modern Legends AMG, I'm way more active there, and I got a lot of DMs of people that were like, "You're an idiot," and I was like, I've heard that before, yeah. But I'm not selling it. It's here to stay. Someday I would love to add a 911 to live in this garage with it, if I could get it in here. But I'm not going to get a 911 at the cost of this car. I can't do it. So anyway, I'll finally shut up. Thanks for watching. Thanks for tuning in. Hope everybody's safe. Again, congrats on your E55s. If you don't have one, go ahead and buy one. And make sure it's a good car. Later, homies.